Ben left home in his teens, like so many others, looking for adventure on the open range and all the glory promised by the dime novels and the old-timers' legends. He was at home on a ranch, having grown up alongside his brothers, learning how to shoot a gun, ride a horse, and work the land on the family farm in Texas. He was proficient in the saddle and could run a herd with the best of them, considered absolutely fearless by those that knew him. It was around this time, freshly planted in the real world, young and impressionable, that he made the acquaintances of other would-be outlaws, including Tom and Sam Ketchum and Will News Carver. These men worked hard and played harder. Ben was 6'2", earning the nickname the Tall Texan, with fair hair and skin baked by the Texas sun. When the boys hit the town each weekend, Ben never had a problem finding trouble, or a woman, whichever came first. Despite the honest work and steady pay, he and his cohorts knew there was an easier way to make money, and they formed the Ketchum Gang, which committed several heists in New Mexico. However, after a failed train robbery, he fled to the Robbers' Roost in Utah and joined what became known as the Wild Bunch in 1898. The gang had been on a brief hiatus as their de facto leader, Bob Parker, known in the newspapers as Butch Cassidy, was locked up for 18 months. After Cassidy's release from prison, he and Elzy organized the Wild Bunch. The gang included notable outlaws like the Sundance Kid, Kid Curry, Flatnose Curry, Will Carver, Elzy and others. While with the Wild Bunch, Ben also hooked up with Laura Bullion, who had previously been Will Carver's girl. Little did they know, the gang was about to begin the most successful train robbing career in history. Stars sparkled in the warm night sky on June 2, 1899, around 1 a.m., when Cassidy, Logan, Sundance, and Elzy robbed the Union Pacific Overland Flyer near Wilcox, Wyoming. Wearing masks made of paper napkins, the bandits stole an estimated $30,000 to $60,000. The robbers placed a barricade on the tracks, forcing the engine to a halt before it could cross a wooden bridge, at which point they forced the crew to detach the locomotive from the other cars and drive it over the bridge. At this point, the robbers blasted the bridge with dynamite, and then blew open a safe, maybe two, and escaped with cash and other valuables. Staying true to their MO, they split up in different directions. The exact amount of money stolen is still unknown. It's also speculation whether Ben took part in this event. After cooling off for about a year, on August 29, 1900, Kilpatrick, Cassidy, Sundance Kid, Harvey Logan, and News Carver held up the Union Pacific train at Tipton, Wyoming. Afterward, the gang split up, with Logan and Ben heading to Fort Worth. The boys were pursued by a posse led by Sheriff McDaniel and U.S. Marshal Frank Hadsel. The posse lost the trail after a heavy rain washed away any sign, and Ben successfully made it to Texas, while Cassidy and several others allegedly hit the First National Bank of Winnemucca, Nevada, which netted around $32,000. There is new evidence that this heist was not the work of the actual Wild Bunch, but of three close friends of the gang. Later that year, several members of the Wild Bunch spent several weeks at the Hell's Half-Acre area of Fort Worth, Texas, reuniting for an extended celebration. They stayed at a nondescript boarding house called the Maddox, and it was the first time several of the members had ever met. On November 21st, Harvey Logan, Will Carver, Butch Cassidy, Ben Kilpatrick, and the Sundance Kid made the mistake of posing for a portrait. When the Pinkertons learned of the photograph, it was soon found on hundreds of wanted posters across the nation, and this is arguably the most famous portrait of outlaws in existence. On July 3, 1901, 7 months after the famous photo, Kid Curry, Ben, and Deaf Charlie Hanks pulled a train job in Wagner, Montana. Hanks waited with extra horses near a bridge further down the track, while Ben bought a ticket and Curry snuck aboard the baggage car of the Great Northern No. 3. The engineer realized something was wrong and pulled the emergency stop, but Kid Curry rushed him with guns drawn, ordering the train to resume towards the rendezvous. The train slowed as it approached the bridge, and Curry and Kilpatrick disconnected the passenger and express cars and ordered the mail and express clerks off the train. The pair tried several times to blast open the safe, succeeding on the third attempt, and making off with around $40,000 in cash, plus jewelry and silver coins. Before escaping, Smith, the express messenger, begged Curry for a souvenir. The kid fired off the remaining rounds in his pistol and handed it to Smith. Spending the money, however, would prove to be the bandits' downfall. On the run, Ben and his girlfriend Laura Bullion made their way to St. Louis, where the pair were both arrested on November 8, 1901. Kilpatrick was found guilty of robbery and sentenced to 15 years in prison, while Laura was sentenced to 5. After serving 3.5 years, Laura was released from the Missouri State Penitentiary, never seeing Ben again. In the meantime, Kilpatrick was doing his time at the federal penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia. After serving 10 years of his 15-year sentence, he was released in June 1911, and within no time, he had returned to a life of crime. He was thought to have participated in several train robberies outside the Memphis, Tennessee area in November 1911 and February 1912, and several other small robberies in West Texas. Sadly, his luck was about to run out. It was a cool evening on March 12, 1912, when the Galveston, Harrisburg, and San Antonio train number 9 pulled away from Del Rio, Texas, with engineer D.E. Grosh at the throttle. Shortly before midnight, it stopped in Dryden to take on water, and as it was preparing to pull away, Ben and his buddy Ole Hobeck, whom Kilpatrick met in prison, climbed aboard the train. The masked men then ordered the engineer to proceed to the first iron bridge east of Baxter's Curve, about halfway between Dryden and Sanderson, Texas. The bandits ordered the train to be stopped, and the passenger cars and caboose to be uncoupled from the train. Without the passengers, the engine went across the bridge and about half a mile further down the tracks, where the robbers had horses waiting, ordering the train to stop again and proceeding with the holdup. While Hobeck stayed with the engineer, Ben escorted David Truesdale, the Wells Fargo Express agent, through the baggage car. When the pair passed by a shipment of iced oysters, Truesdale picked up an ice mallet and hid it in his clothing. Kilpatrick then filled a bag with about $60,000, but as he was preparing to leave, Truesdale told Kilpatrick that there was a valuable package lying on the ground. Kilpatrick rested his rifle against his leg while he leaned over to pick up the package, and as he did, Truesdale pulled the mallet from beneath his coat and struck Kilpatrick 3 times in the back of the neck and head. Ben died instantly of a broken neck and crushed skull. Truesdale then armed himself with Ben's gun, and when Hobeck grew impatient and came looking for his partner, Truesdale shot him. The official time of the robbery is listed as 12:05 a.m. Afterward, the engineer backed up the train, recoupled the passenger cars, and continued to Sanderson. Agent Truesdale helped unload the dead bodies and turned over the 6 weapons the robbers had been carrying. The dead bodies of Ben Kilpatrick and Ole Hobeck were held up for photographs. And so it goes. Ben was killed in 1912 at the age of 38. He's buried in the southwest corner of the Cedar Grove Cemetery in Sanderson, Texas. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and let me know who your favorite Wild Bunch member is down in the comments. Thank you. Have a great day.